a judge in the UK has denied Julian Assange his repeal for extradition. So you may recall that Julian Assange was deemed, it was ruled that he will be extradited to the United States, and he appealed that ruling. His appeal was denied in December, and then again, finally today. That doesn't mean that he is automatically now on a plane back to the United States, because now one more final judge will rule whether he goes or not. He was making the case that if he were to be extradited to the United States, he would not receive a fair trial, he would not receive humane treatment, and that he was a health and suicide risk. And now that's moving one step forward towards actually handing him over.
I mean, this is just a tragedy here. I mean, after all, this is what we talk about here on this show. I mean, here's a journalist, by the way, he was given documents and reported on these documents through WikiLeaks. Didn't steal them himself, right?
Yes.
Was given these documents and released them as part of journalism. By the way, think about the things we've learned as a result of these document leaks, these document dumps, right? We absolutely know what the DNC was doing to discredit Bernie Sanders.
The demonization of Bernie Sanders, the propping up of Hillary Clinton.
And by the way, I asked Donna Brazile that very question, like that morning when I was at the Democratic convention, or at the Republican convention, I asked her that morning that news broke. Mm-hmm. You know, as we were still learning like what was going on here, and she was put in place like temporarily as an interim DNC chair because Nancy Wasserman Schultz,
Debbie Wasserman
Schultz had to step aside because of this, and it was clear as day what the DNC was doing, going after Bernie Sanders to discredit him, one of the leading Democratic candidates at the time. The only reason we know about this is because of WikiLeaks and because of documents because of the emails.
Yes.
He
published classified documents. He did not steal them. He was given them.
Right. A journalist.
But for doing that, which is something the New York Times does every day.
The Washington Post
does every day. But because the government doesn't like the things that he published en masse, he's being punished for it. And now it looks like he may, in fact, head to a trial in the United States. Do we think he'll get a fair trial? Rewind the tape to the previous story about any kind of open dialogue on truth, and I now see the cat going down the stairs. Here's
Caitlin Johnstone on this question. Assange's appeal against U.S. extradition for unauthorized journalism is rejected on the same day Western pundits call for the military detention of those who question the official narrative about Russia. Yeah, I mean, what she's saying is this is where Tulsi Gabbard, this comes on the same day where
if what Tulsi Gabbard said is treasonous,
right,
then clearly, by that definition, what Julian Assange did was too.
Right. So this comes on the very same day for those who are calling for the military detention of those who question the official narrative about Russia. But we must keep intervening in Ukraine to protect its freedom and democracy. Right. We go back to what did the Biden White House tell us? Right. What did Nancy Pelosi tell us? What did Kamala Harris tell us? Right. What we're standing for in Ukraine is democracy. It's freedom. It's freedom of the press. It's freedom of speech. We denounce those countries that shut down the press and try to foist propaganda on its people. I mean, it's laughable, right? I mean, this is exactly what's happening here. And this is what Julian Assange is being persecuted for. It was a great mistake of Donald Trump to not pardon him before he left office.
Yeah, agreed.
He absolutely should have done that. I mean, Tucker Carlson was calling on President Trump to do that because we knew that he would at least watch that show. He was like, if he wants to leave a legacy, imagine him doing that and Edward Snowden. The only reason
Tucker had Jimmy Dore. He had Jimmy Dore on his show to help get that point home.
Yeah, that was it was a great segment. Jimmy Dore just went off on it. I mean,
well, I think the prevailing thought was that there might be information that would continue to be released about Trump, that Trump was afraid of open release of information.
Maybe I'm not clear on this, but does Julian Assange have dual citizenship? Is he a citizen in the U.S.?
I don't think so. I don't think he's
and that's what kind of confused me about this whole thing is how can Is there like an international treaty somewhere that says you can't publish classified documents from a country that you are not a citizen of? So like where does this end up that you can basically like force another government to seize a citizen not of your country and extradite them to your country so you can try them? Not
Well,
even international court, but to
that's where
bring
these
them to the
treaties,
US.
that's where these sort of military alliances come from, right? So the U.S. Army says, hey, these documents that were released as it related to Chelsea Manning, right, back in 2010, when these documents were released, this is harmful and classified information as it relates to the U.S. Army, and therefore it's seen as treasonous. It's seen as you're an enemy of the state. Basically, you become an enemy of the state. In the same way that we can bring Pablo Escobar into the United States and put Pablo
any
Escobar.
other terrorist.
Right. In many ways, yes, you are a terrorist because you've done things against the U.S. state. You are an enemy of the state. So we can bring you in. We can hold you. I'm surprised they don't stick him in Guantanamo Bay. Right. This is what we did without due process.
Well, he may still be headed there.
Yeah, that's the thing. Without due process, right? And that was what this judge in the UK initially said. Like, she agreed. She was siding, of course, with the United States government, but she was like, we're going to hold off on this because we think that you will be hurt by the U.S. prison system because it's so bad.
And there's no evidence that he would get a fair trial, right? The government is still saying they're bringing him here to try him, which, in my opinion, would be as big of a trial, if not bigger, than GMAX, who we've been talking about.
Can you imagine a Julian Assange trial? I mean,
no, I can't.
He's not guaranteed a trial under our Constitution because he's not a citizen. So is that just like hyperbole to get him over here and thinking he's going to get a trial? Then he won't because,
what are they
going to do? Put him in Guantanamo? Like,
that's the thing. It's right. I mean, that was what, of course, these lawyers have been fighting for these people that were just kept in perpetuity. Like, under what law are you kept without any due process in a jail in Guantanamo Bay, not, in Cuba, not in the United States, not on U.S. soil? And so that's what, of course, a lot of people have been fighting for, to push and push and push to get either try them or release them. You're not going to hide and keep these so-called terrorists in Guantanamo Bay for the rest of their life. Like, you can't be held in this like Dick Cheney limbo. So bring them here, go through due process. But I mean, he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison in the United States. That's what's going to happen to Julian Assange, a journalist, by the way.
Yeah.
A free speech purist.
So how do they justify, and where would they even hold him? Like, what prison could hold a non-U.S. citizen for, like, the federal government's just going to accuse him of what crime? Treason, and then they're going to put him in like a Georgia prison? Or
I don't think it will be that easy. I do think there are plenty of media theorists and scholars who will rally behind him in order to try to support him. I don't want to say there's no chance he gets a fair trial. Maybe, right, if we sort of have this modicum of belief in the justice system, it's possible. I know that sounds naive, but I don't think it will be just a slam dunk. I think he's too public for the government just to do that. But stranger things have happened.
It can't be treason. I mean, they can't accuse him of treason because he's not a U.S. citizen. So
right.
It's not,
that's the talking point,
enemy
though.
Of the state. It'd be a military enemy of the state, right? So he is Australian, right? And he has an Ecuadorian passport as well. So he has two passports.
So that means they probably would hold him in a military prison, most likely.
Presumably, yeah, because these are violations against the U.S. Army. I mean, these documents related to Chelsea Manning, that's, it's funny. They're not even really concerned about the DNC email leaks. It's mostly concerned about, of course, is the Chelsea Manning documents as it relates to the U.S. Army. Anyway, we'll be following this. It's something very, mainstream media is ignoring in large part. But again, I think it's important for us to be following what's actually happening with Julian Assange. This is the next step in this battle for free speech, for journalism, as we watch journalism just deteriorating right before our eyes. So we'll keep our eye on that. If you like this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, we have a membership program. For the price of a cup of coffee once a month, you can support independent journalism just by going to morninginvest.com/join.
You get access to exclusive videos, plus the ability to join and chat with us live. We really appreciate your subscription, and you are supporting independent journalism.